Hello, welcome back to another conference preview with the Transfer Portal CFB, presented by NoContextCFB. It's a group of 5 week. It's the good stuff. We're having fun today because we're talking about the Fun Belt, the Sun Belt, an electric conference. I am so glad to have recruited Dan to become a diehard of this incredible conference from top to bottom. It's absolutely electric. We've got the best out of conference realignment. Yes, the Sun Belt has dominated realignment, has created so many really strong rivalries regionally and everything. So I can't wait to talk about the Sun Belt for 5 hours. Five good? Yeah.
Five for just the West, right? And then another five
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the East. We're going all
Of
night.
course. Of course. Well, if we had 24 hours to talk about the Sun Belt, that's easy, Dan. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Last year, my sister's alma mater joined this league, so I was curious. I was like, interesting. Those are some good little teams down there. We did the preview together. You taught me a lot, and then I found myself every week watching 3, 4, 5 Sunbelt games every single week. It was tremendous. What an absolute amazing season. Can't wait to
Yeah.
talk about the season coming up.
Becoming addicted to Sunbelt football is the best addiction that anybody could have.
No FDA warning against it.
I mean, it's so good, and it starts with the players and the games. And so we'll kind of highlight a few of these real quick. Dan, what's the first non-conference game that you're really looking forward to? It's stacked in the Sunbelt non-conference, so we're going to talk about two each.
I picked two for two different reasons, but the first to me is South Alabama at Oklahoma State. I think South Alabama is potentially a real challenger for the group of 5 New Year's Six Bowl. I think they have a loaded roster. I think they can go get the kind of statement win you need by going on the road and taking down an Oklahoma State team that has some questions. It lost a lot in the transfer portal, and maybe they'll be good. Maybe Mike Gundy coaches them up, but I think they'll be gettable for a fast, athletic, tough South Alabama team.
Yeah, love that call for my first one. I'm going with App State at UNC in week 2. Because App State down year last year, real down year, real weird for App State. That's not like it. They're going to be coming back with a vengeance this year. UNC week 2 is a great early test for them. We're going to get to see how App State measures up against some really good competition, and it'll give us a bit of insight as to how good App State will be all year long. I can't wait to talk about App State in like 10 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe those teams will score in the 60s again, just like last year.
Hopefully.
My other choice is it's not the sexiest opponent, but it's James Madison at Utah State. James Madison does have a Power 5 team on their schedule in State Virginia, but I chose this game because as a Sun Belt fan and somebody that is preaching the gospel that the Sun Belt is the best group of 5 league this year, I want to see the Sun Belt teams dominate their G5 opponents. And I think that Utah State is somebody that James Madison needs to go out there and whip to just kind of show conference dominance. There are a bunch of other different good matchups against G5 teams for sure. Tulane, Western Kentucky is on the schedule, up and down. But I want to see James Madison whip Utah State.
Well, you brought up one of those teams that I have my eye out for, and that's Western Kentucky at Troy in week 4. So we're each taking a Sunbelt team against a P5 and then against a GO5, which is great. Western Kentucky is, in my opinion, they're a top 2 group of 5 team this season, in my opinion. I would truthfully give them the one spot. I know others went. Saw a ranking today from CBS that our good friend Shahan tweeted out, and Western Kentucky on CBS was in the 60s. I don't understand that at all. Western Kentucky's a darn good team. Troy's a darn good team. Troy's defense against WKU's offense, sign me up. That's must-see TV. And again, a really good test for Troy and the Sun Belt to see where they stand against one of the better teams in the group of 5. Can be an electric game, and Troy better bring their A game. Move on to some players here, Dan. We'll go with breakout and sleeper players first. Who's your first guy you're looking out for?
My breakout sleeper player, I'm going to go with Sam Kennerson, wide receiver at Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, as you know, had a tremendous tremendous offense last year. That was really delivered by an excellent group of receivers. Well, Sam Kennerson looked like he might have been the best one to start the year. He came out, had 200 yards in the first game and a half, and got injured in that win at Nebraska. The season was cut short. He might have been the best of the group. So I'm looking for Sam Kennerson to gobble up a lot of targets and catch up for the year that was missed last season.
I'm with it. For my first guy, I'm going with Louisiana running back Draylon Washington. All Louisiana does in recent memory is put out very quality running backs that get to the next level. They get to the NFL. I think Draylon Washington's the next guy that we really need to be cognizant about. I mean, if you Twitter search Draylon Washington, there's 2 tweets since May. It's some other guy who picked on be a breakout, and then it's me telling everyone that they need a tweet about Draylon. So look, Draylon Washington's like 5'9", 225. He's very thick, but he's got that track background. He's super quick, agile, plenty of strength. He's a perfect Sunbelt back. The Sunbelt is loaded at the running back position. Draylon Washington is next up and gets to do it at Louisiana, where they play really good on the offensive line, and they're producing running backs all the time. Chris Smith, Elijah Mitchell, Raymond Calais. Like, they've had so many good names. If I'm not even thinking one, I'm sorry. There's just too many that they've had.
My other choice for a breakout player, we're going to go Ben Bell, defensive end down there at Texas State. Texas State is doing a little mini Deion. We'll talk about this more. They got 50 newcomers coming onto the roster. Ben Bell is a holdover. His brother Levi was a dominant defensive tackle last year. But Ben is on the edge. He's going to rush the passer. He's going to get at the quarterback. I think he's going to have a breakout season this year.
All right, I like that call. I'm kind of cheating with my next one. I'm picking a duo. As I kind of said, App State needs to – they're coming for with vengeance this season. They've got to really retool things, especially on the defense and the secondary. So I like Tyreek Thunderberg, who's transferring from Richmond, cornerback. And I like Jordan Favors at safety. I like them to each break out and really help retool that App State secondary and get things back to standards. And boom, those two are going to be key components of a revitalization of App State this season. So look out for Thunderberg and Favors.
I'm into it. I think I'm buying App State. We'll get to that soon, but I'm buying App State stock.
Very soon. Very soon. We'll go with some key players here. These might be some of the top dogs in the conference, or they might just be some key components that are super integral to their team's success.
I'm going to also cheat and take 2 guys. It is one of these 2 guys, one of Jordan Barnett or Alonzo McLeod. Whoever wins I did that backwards, didn't I? Jordan McLeod or Alonzo Barnett. Whoever wins the James Madison quarterback gig there. Kurt Cignetti's been a quarterback whisperer. He's just put out just incredible guys at that position this whole time in Harrisonburg. Whoever wins that job is going to be commanding one of the favorites to win the East, even though they can't win it, and is going to be behind a fantastic offensive line with a lot of good skill position players. And good play at that position, replacing Todd Centeio, will really determine if JMU crashes the party again for the second year in a row.
You ever seen a guy fly? A human being fly?
Who was that Bengals receiver who did that triple?
Jerome Simpson?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not Jerome Simpson, and it's not the kid from up. Ashton Hawkins from Texas State could quite literally fly. That kid is as fast as lightning. He is a rocket. When he has the ball in his hands, he's must-see TV. With G.J. Kinney at Texas State now, as Dan said, the little mini Deion here. But this is one of their returners. Ashton Hawkins is coming back. He could have hit the portal. He could have went somewhere more coveted. He could have produced at a higher level. He's staying. He's going to be the main focus on this offense. Can't get the ball a lot. When the ball's his hands, dangerous things are going to happen. We saw it last year. It's going to be even scarier in Kinney's offense this year. We're thinking better quarterback play, whether it's Finley or Hornsby. Ashton Hawkins is a name to watch, and if you play college fantasy football, pick him up. If you play DFS, you need him in your lineup.
Yep. He's a dominant slot guy, and they're going to use him a lot. I am going to go with Kamani Vidal, Troy running back. Troy won the West last year with complementary football. That was not very good offense at all. but they complemented their dominant defense. But Vidal had a couple really good breakout games. He was huge in that win over Louisiana, for instance, and was really productive down the stretch. If he can be the guy that he was in those 4 or 5 top efforts that they had, Troy might be a little better overall, like a more productive offense than we really think they could be on paper if Vidal takes another big leap forward. So I'm looking to see if he does that. If not, they're going to be playing in a lot of squeakers again. They won those squeakers last year. Will they get the breaks of the ball again this year? Well, they can avoid needing those breaks if they take a big step forward.
It's not easy to win 2 straight years of all those coin flip games. You see it in the NFL all the time.
They won 3 games last year where they only scored 1 offensive touchdown.
Some say that's not really what you want. Some say you want a little more offense. I have offense for you. Jared Brown, wide receiver at Coastal. I kid you not, I am higher on this kid than anyone else in the entire world, except for maybe Grayson McCall, who talked up Jared Brown so much when we spoke with McCall a few months ago. I think Jared Brown's the best receiver in the conference. He doesn't get that respect. I think he's the best receiver on his team. He doesn't get that respect either. I think he's one of the better NFL prospects in this conference. He hasn't got that respect yet. You see him named to like preseason lists and stuff this year. It's not enough, though. He needs more hype. He's so deserving of all the hype, and he just doesn't get the top tier hype that he needs. What he's going to do this year in Coastal's new offense with Beck and Trickett, it's going to be fun. They're going to get the ball in his hands, like I said with Hawkins, but they're going to use him a lot more as a vertical threat. They're just going to find really strong ways to get the ball in his hands so that he could fly and dance around defenses. This guy has burst that is only like able to equate to like a Lambo going 0 to 100 or some other fast car, because I'm not really a car guy. So whatever car goes super fast from 0 to 100 real quick, that's what Jared Brown does. He is must-see TV, and you guys need to invest in him. He's the best receiver in the Sun Belt. You can hold me to it. If I'm wrong, I'm not going to be wrong, though. That's the issue. So really get to know Jared Brown. Jared Brown hype train needs some more hype.
Right now, Pinkney's the guy, his teammate, Sam Pinkney's the guy getting all the preseason love, but Jared Brown, I think, could surpass him.
When we're doing these previews and all that stuff, there is something always lacking, and that's people predicting and projecting production from other guys that are going to step up and get bigger roles, and it blows my mind that whatever. Jared Brown, again, going to go nuts this season. Now we could actually talk about the teams. We can actually talk about App State, who we've kind of alluded to maybe being back. We could talk about Coastal. We could talk about South Alabama, who you said is going to be one of the best group of 5 teams in the country. So let's talk about it, Dan. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's recap real quick what happened in this league last year. Yeah. If you missed it, the Sun Belt added 4 teams last season. They raided Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss from Conference USA. They promoted James Madison from FCS. They really, other conferences may be leaning into things like television rights or, media markets or, kind of hub cities. The Sun Belt Conference said, we want regional rivalries in the South where people care about football. We don't care that the fan bases might only put, 24,000, 28,000 in the seats, but those are 28,000 people that are going to have their stadiums rocking, and they're going to care. And those fan bases care a lot, and they're passionate. So they leaned, think about historic programs like Southern Miss, Georgia Southern, Troy, Marshall. These are like blue bloods at this level of football. App State, right? Multiple national championships, all these teams. So they leaned into it, and the bet paid off. There were rivalry games. There were tremendous games up and down the slate all year. And then in week 2, the league went in and stole 3 wins in some of the cathedrals of college football, right? You had Georgia Southern winning at Nebraska. You had App State winning at Texas A&M, and of course, as predicted on the pod last year by our own Liam Blutman, Marshall winning at Notre Dame. So you called that all the way. Well done. And the league was tremendous from start to finish. Troy and South Alabama waged an incredible head-to-head race down to the line, determined by what was that? Was that game 10-9 or 10-6? 10-6, right? Determined by 1 point in an October game, and or 1 score in an October game. And Coastal couldn't beat out James Madison for the actual title, but they got into the conference championship, and that was not a good showing against Troy, though. McCall was struggling with his injury then. But a fantastic year for the Sun Belt, and it's set up for another really great year. A lot of incredible storylines. Some coaches on the hot seat, some coaches who have a lot to prove, who have been building their roster for a couple of years, a lot of proven stars, and some hungry teams ready to get back. So we're going to start with the West. The East is just an incredible king of the hill. I think there are 4 different teams that could win the East. I think there's probably really only 2 contenders in the West. So let's start there. We'll start in alphabetical order. We're going to go with Butch Jones's Arkansas State Red Wolves. It's been 2 rough years in Jonesboro so far. The proud years of the Gus Malzahn years are kind of well in the rearview mirror at this point. Even the Blake Anderson years feel pretty far off. But even though they're not winning many ball games, the Red Wolves have been recruiting. They've put back-to-back the best high school classes in the league, and Butch Jones has been getting in the portal to get a lot of SEC down transfers. Now that strategy worked pretty well for Southern Miss last year. Just get big bodies, kind of number crunch roster guys from Mississippi State, and coach them up at your lower level. I think this might work. Their win total is like a little higher. Some people seem to be kind of buying in on this working. Quarterback is still yet to be determined. James Blackman from Florida State was in the role last year. He's out. It looks like it's going to be either JT Shrout or Daly, a young kid that they like. So that'll be an interesting competition. Corey Rucker is back. He started Arkansas State 2 years ago, went to South Carolina last year, got injured, couldn't find much playing time. So he's back to lead the team. Like I said, the offensive line rebuilt with a lot of SEC roster crunch guys. I think Arkansas State could make some noise. They're not going to challenge Troy and South Alabama, but I think this team could be more competitive than they showed in the past years. They also lost 4 different ball games last year where they held a lead in the fourth quarter. So they're closer, right? That old cliche about, first year you lose big, second year you lose close, third year you win close, fourth year you're just a good football team that wins games. Maybe that's the path that Butch Jones has them on. What are you seeing with this team, Liam?
So getting Corey Rucker back in the building is absolutely seismic. For those who maybe don't recall, he went off in 2021. He had about 120 receiving yards, almost had 10 receiving touchdowns. Someone that you throw the ball up to him and you know that good things are going to happen. It's as simple as that. He is a playmaker. I like Sammy Johnson as well at cornerback. A few years ago, he suffered a scare. I think it was against Coastal. I could be wrong, but got stretchered off the field, ends up being okay, and he's back and he's balling out. So look out for him as well. I don't know. The quarterback position is just such a big question mark in my opinion. I don't know. We don't know who it's gonna be. But I'm just like not a big JT Shrout guy. We've seen this experiment so many times. I would rather see someone else go in there. I'd rather see new blood. I would love to see Jackson Daly and what he brings to the table. How could we also forget? You wrote up. We have a very good college football preview magazine. Dan wrote about Arkansas State and pretty much the entire Sun Belt. Stars to know for Arkansas State, kicker Dominic Zvada right there on the front page. So they've got an elite kicker, Dan. You know that. I know that. That helps you lay in the games. It does. It does. Ice in his veins.
They had good special teams last year, although Johnny Lang is gone. He was an excellent return man. So we'll see. It's there's a path to success if the transfers work, but
yeah, your ceiling was 6-6, and it is a tough non-conference schedule when you're having to play at Oklahoma and first Memphis off rip, and then you get first Stony Brook and at UMass for your 5th game. But you're sitting 6-6, your floor is 2-10, realistically 5-7. That puts them over that 4.5 win total that my bookie has. When I'm looking at this Arkansas State team, I think I am in that 4-5 range because of the quarterback play. I'm just so, I don't know, I have the ick.
Yeah, it's a big unknown for sure. Let's move over to Louisiana. This team was dominating the conference for years in the Billy Napier era. And then he moved on, of course, to Gainesville and a significant promotion and money and stress Good luck to Billy. But Michael Desormeaux on staff took over the job, and things were strikes and gutters. September was rough. Things were not good. They were doing a 2-quarterback rotation, and I don't know. They were definitely improved once Woolridge kind of took over that role. The running game wasn't as great as it had been for so many years, especially a lot of guys lost in the trenches. Osiris Torrance followed the excellent guard followed Napier. Defense kind of struggled. There were still a lot of stars there. Wide receiver Michael Jefferson, Zion Hill-Green on the D line. So the roster was still pretty decent. They came together in the end of the year, ended up making a bowl, but I don't know. I like that they turned around later in the year, but I do. They then lost a bunch of these stars that had been developed in the Napier era then to the portal. So the first batch was gone. Another wave left. Trey Amos is gone. He was at Alabama. Cam Pescalo, he's at I forgot where he transferred to, but Chris Smith, the running back, he's gone. Michael Jefferson, like I said, is gone. So I'm just worried that this roster is losing all of the talent advantage that they had from the Napier era recruiting and development, and that this is going to slip back to the middle of the pack for the Raging Cajuns.
It like last year, you remember, I didn't think that they would skip a beat. I thought that they'd still run through the West. I was super high on them. I was wrong. I guess it happens. I thought Chandler Fields would be a lot better than he really was last season. So again, like they need solidified quarterback play, but being able to depend on your strong run game is always good. And I think that they're still going to be able to do that. AJ Gilly's an NFL caliber interior offensive lineman. He'll play left guard for them. And like I said, Traylon Washington's going to break out in a big way. I think he's better back than Montrell Johnson and Chris Smith, which goes to say a lot because I love Chris Smith. I like Montrell as well. So I think Traylon Washington could be better than both those guys. If he truly breaks out like I think he can, he's running behind Gilly in a really nasty offensive line. They're going to have success, but it all comes down to that quarterback play. And if they could just be competent, that's what we said for App State last year for Chase Bryce. App State's going to be really good if Chase Bryce could just be competent. That's all he needs to be. If ULL, sorry, ULL fans, you Louisiana fans, I did this again. Sorry, Louisiana fans. If y'all could just find some competence at quarterback, like the team can be good. You look at the defense, there are some dudes. Tyrone Lewis Jr. is a dude. Tyree Skipper could be a really good player. That's a tremendous safety duo. Cortine Flowers, another good player. Caleb Anderson, your secondary as well. Sonny Hazard and nose tackle. Like they've got guys, KC Osai at a linebacker. They've got guys everywhere on defense. Can you find something in the passing game? Like you desperately need to find that. The win total 7.5 by my bookie. Dan, you went 9-3 for the ceiling, 4-8 for the floor, and realistically 7-5. Tell me why you're at 7-5.
This was one of the 4 Sunbelt teams I did not write. I did not write.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That was our man Brendan.
I'm sorry. That was sorry.
That's okay. But okay. I probably would have said 6-6 is what I would have said. I just I don't know. Desormeaux feels a little placeholder-ish to me. I do like that they rallied in the second half, but I'm not all the way out, but I haven't seen enough reasons to buy in yet.
I think that one way that they could really get people to buy back in is because the start of their season is a bit soft before they really get into the meat of the Sun Belt. You're playing Northwestern State at Old Dominion, at Dilfer's UAB in your first 3 games, and then Buffalo for your 4th. Like, I feel like that could very easily be a 4-0 start. At Minnesota is a pretty good test for you before you're back versus Texas State. Like, that could very easily be a 5-1 start. Georgia State, you could be 6-1. Like, if you're just looking on paper at the schedule, I think that the start of the schedule is very beneficial for them. I don't think that they beat South Alabama, regardless of if the game is played in Mobile or on the Moon or in Louisiana. Like, I don't think that they beat South Alabama, but at Arkansas State's a winnable game. Southern Miss is a toss-up. At Troy, it's still and obviously a winnable game if I'm talking about Louisiana stringing across so many wins early on. Like, they'd be I don't know. I kind of like them more than 7 wins. I like that. This schedule's kind of easy.
Yeah, I mean, um, when you prognosticate the SEC or the Big Ten, it's always important to look at the cross division games. Same thing in the Sun Belt. Same thing. It's important to
Mm.
see who you play, and we'll get to that when we talk about James Madison because that's an important part in prognosticating the James Madison season. But Louisiana does get Old Dominion and Georgia State out of the East. The projected 6 and 7 teams in that division. So that's big. They do need
Yeah, I
to sorry.
no, you go, you go.
I was going to transition into ULM. So if you
Oh,
have a
okay,
point
okay,
about
yeah.
it
So
after that.
last on the Cajuns, I'm back. I'm back. You guys have pulled me back in. I think the run game's gonna be superb with Gilly and with Traylon Washington running behind them. Please give me competent quarterback play. There's a path. There's a path for 9 wins, but I'm gonna be a safe coward. I'm going 8 wins. I think they go over the 7.5. I just think that schedule's a bit Charmin, man. The beginning of that schedule, they could really rattle off a very strong start.
You just can't quit them.
I never can. I'll be back next year too. If they go like 3-9 this year, I'll be back next year saying they're at NY60.
Michael Desermo might not be, though.
Oh, he might not, but they
Three and
might hire
nine.
me. They might hire
Uh,
me.
but one thing that Louisiana does need to do, regardless, is they need to take care of their business in there against their in-state rivals and beat Louisiana Monroe, which they did not do last year. Terry Bowden's team did upset them first time in a couple years that had happened. So ULM consistently one of the bottom feeders, not only in the Sun Belt, but frankly in the entire FBS, just an underfunded program. It's fun when they get a couple. Sickos committee always loves to get rowdy on Twitter when they get a couple wins, but I'm looking at the schedule and it's hard to find stealable games on this schedule for them. They have 2 SEC bye games going to Texas A&M and Ole Miss, and then out of conference they get Army in week 1. I did write up Army. I'm down. I'm down on the Black Knights. I'm worried about this offensive transition, but this is the first game that Army's gonna play. It's gonna be, even though you have 8 months to prepare for it. There's no tape. There's no tape of Army running this.
Yeah.
So, I do think Army's defense is going to be good, but who knows what that offense is going to look like. ULM really struggled to stop the option in the second half of that game last year, and Army put them away. So at least they're not seeing the triple option. Anyway, I could talk Sun Belt and Academy football when the two forces combine. But I don't know. ULM, not a ton of talent here. I do like wide receiver Tyrone Howell. I'm not alone in that. He's going to be a star. Pretty solid defensive line grouping, but overall, probably another long season in Monroe, but they're getting used to that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, Tyrone Howell is he's a stud. He's by far the best player on this team. If you're watching ULM football this season, you're watching because of Hal, and you just want to see this guy thrive. Maybe parlays this success into a bigger opportunity next year. Goes to the NFL and gets a solid opportunity, whatever it is. He'll be the bright shining light on this team all season long. As Dan said, they have 2 SEC bye games on their schedule. The schedule is brutal. I don't think you're going to beat Army. You should beat Lamar, but then at A&M versus App State versus South Alabama, at Texas State for your 6 games. You want to add at Georgia Southern for your 7th. Like, that is a terrifying first 7 games when you're a bottom feeder already. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you can't see it. They can't see it. This is their win total is 3.5, by the way. You would think, what, I don't know, 1 win in their first 7? Like, it's terrifying. And then you're still at Southern Miss, at Southern Miss versus Troy, at Ole Miss, at Louisiana. Like, it is one of the harder schedules in the conference, especially when you consider where that program is at, who's playing the schedule, and they're already down and they're at the bottom of the ocean, and it ain't looking good for the old blobfish that is UL Monroe.
Yeah. Sorry, Sickos.
Yeah, sorry, Sickos. Maybe they could beat Lamar. Maybe they could hold a lead over A&M.
That would be something. Jimbo and Bobby fighting
Jake's
on the
gonna
sideline.
hate me. Oh man, I hate
we have
their
not just
so
Jake.
tough.
We have some Aggies on the staff now too. We onboarded Mitch as well, and those guys, the 3 techs. So we got some Aggie numbers now. We got to be nicer.
They don't want to see us if UL Monroe's up 9-6 in the late fourth.
So a team that will be far more competitive than ULM is the South Alabama Jaguars. We are both picking them, spoiler alert, to do very well.
Roar.
This team was so close to breaking through. They were 5 points away, 2 scores from an undefeated 12-0 regular season. They were that good. Of course they did, and their season getting blown out by Western Kentucky. Still, program hasn't found their ever elusive first bowl win. Still waiting for that to happen. Carter Bradley is back at quarterback. A lot of guys around him back with Damian Webb, running back, Voisin and wide receiver. So they're going to be loaded. Lacey as well. And defense took a big step forward last year. Really, really good unit in Kane Womack's second year. Yam Banks is a star. They're going to be solid at all 3 levels. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on their big defensive tackle. Oh, Wakevius Thomas, yeah. He's going to be one of the stars in the league. I think that this is a team that could go in there and beat Oklahoma State. They could. Tulane is everybody's G5 darling right off that Cotton Bowl win. I think they could win that game, and we'll see. So they played James Madison to round out September. That's a huge game in the league. They do draw Marshall, so they get 2 of the top 4 teams from the East, and we'll see. So my thing about the Sun Belt contenders is you have Coastal, you have Georgia Southern. These teams are one-dimensional offensive teams. You have Troy, you have Marshall. These teams are one-dimensional defensive side teams. James Madison and South Alabama are really the 2 balanced contenders. They can do. They have the best on both sides of the ball, I believe. So they need to have a better showing against Troy, though.
I think even in the running back room, it's going to be deeper and scarier this year. You talk about LaDamian Webb. What about when he's not carrying the ball? Raylan McReynolds is someone that could really tote the rock. I think he went for about 5.5 last season. Look out for him to have a bigger year. And then Kentrell Bullock, a transfer from Ole Miss. Talking about an SEC talent there that's now South Alabama in that backfield. We've already, man, that's scary to think about if he gets his game going. So they've got 3 very capable running backs. 2 of them are going to complement the star that is LaDamian Webb in a big way. You talk about the defense. Yam Banks, one of the best. He's on the cover of our season preview magazine for a reason, people. Great guy. It was really fun speaking with him. How about Ricky Fletcher as well? You talked about the voicings at safety and receiver. Both of them are really good players. Keith Gallman, an excellent player. South Alabama was loaded, and we said it. They lost 2 regular season games last year by 1 and by 4. They should have beat UCLA if it wasn't for an indescribably awful 4th down call. They had that game won. They threw it away. It was awful. UCLA fan me or whatever. UCLA should not have won that game at all. South Alabama outplayed them for the entirety of that. The Troy game was Sicko's advisory extreme. It was a brutal watch. It was a defensive clash, and South Alabama could just never find the offense to get them over the hump. I think they're going to find a lot more consistent offense this season. They're going to be able to go, I don't know, man. The win total 7.5. That's such a slap in the face. This team is really good. You and I both think that they're one of the better GO5s in the country. Matt wrote about them in our magazine, ceiling 11-1, floor 7-5, realistically 9-3. And you already said you think they could beat Tulane off rip. That'd be my bold prediction. I'll spoil one of my 3 bold predictions. I think that South Alabama beats Tulane by over a touchdown. I think South Alabama's going to go in there and truly dog walk them and let everyone know, we're a real threat to be the GO5 NY6 rep. This is a team that has been feeling just salt. They've been feeling that salt in the wound, that pain of getting thrashed by Western Kentucky in that bowl game
Yeah.
for months and months, day after day. They've had to live with that. That's a taste they don't want to feel anymore. They're going to go out there and they're going to smack Tulane in the face, and they're going to win that ball game. And like Dan kind of said, at the top, Oklahoma State, another very winnable game. South Alabama's got to run through some people this season. I don't know why people don't recognize that this is the class of the group of five this season. It's one of the best teams that there is. If we were blessed with Western Kentucky, South Alabama this year, I'd be thrilled. But I want both those teams to go and contend for an NY6 bid. And South Alabama is going to show people why they could do it, man. The schedule, they got the unfortunate draw, right? But they could do some lethal damage.
Yeah, they're going into the season with that unfinished business mentality, like, carried across the finish line. Yam Banks, like you said, talked to us, and that was a tremendous interview. And hearing their insight, what that program is ready to accomplish, and they cover all fields. They have guys on the perimeter, playmakers on the perimeter, both sides of the ball. They have the trenches covered. Carter Bradley, leader, quarterback, really good coordinators. Obviously, Ken Womack is a head coach, but he's got a lot of experience on that defensive side of the ball, leading that, and Major Applewhite running the offense. So just really balanced and really deep, and
they're probably the most complete team in the conference.
I would agree. Them or James Madison, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many wins I would give them off the top of my head, but I mean, just to be cautious, I would say like that they split the Tulane Oklahoma State stuff. So I guess I'm saying that I'll give them the Okie State loss, but I'm giving them that Tulane win for sure. Yeah, I do still think they can beat the Pokes, but we'll keep down the down low a little so I could just be super optimistic and confident of Tulane win. But I mean, you should start your season 3-1 at JMU. It's a brutal way to open your schedule, but it's a great test, and it's going to help prepare them for the rest of it. So I don't know. I'll go with they only drop one game in conference. I think that 10-2 that'd be around. So I like them 10 or 11 wins.
I love it. Definitely see that happen. We are both predicting. We're both predicting them to go very far. When we get to our league predictions at the end, you'll be hearing that program's name a lot.
Yes, because they're very good.
Another team that I think has a chance to be pretty good is Southern Miss. They, remember, have gone through just an incredibly wacky couple years with the four coaches in the COVID season. Just incredible. Like guys were walking in and out of that program. Then you go to 2021.
We've never seen.
They went through 5 quarterbacks in 2021. Frank Gore was running the Wildcat, the Superback offense, to end the 2021 season. Then you transfer leagues and you hire a new coach, Will Hall. So you come in, and Will Hall's second year, they were really good. That defense was really remade under Austin Armstrong, who's now down there with our old friend Napier. So Armstrong is out. I think that defense, though, still has a chance to be really good, even though they have to replace some guys at linebacker. Jay Stanley at safety is one of the best defenders in the league. Like I said, they've been really savvy at rating SEC rosters for down transfers, roster crunch guys and depth chart casualties. And the offense, I mean, quarterback has been just such a revolving door over the year, but if they can just nail it down and they have a couple guys coming in from Houston and from Clemson coming in, Zach Wilkie back to compete for the job. If they just find consistency, if they have one quarterback that starts somewhere like 9 to 12 games, Frank Gore Jr. is a star. Yeah. Ty Mims is a budding star at receiver. I think this team can easily get back to a bowl. And you saw what happened when they in the bowl last year, right? Frank Gore, the absolute star of the bowl season.
Chill. We're talking about So Miss. Come on.
Unbelievable. The Rock will be rocking. I think Southern Miss is in for another excellent year in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I think 5.5 is too low a total. This is a definite bowl team in my eyes as well. Ty Mims, like you said, budding star. He's going to break out in a big way. It's funny because Southern Miss has had so much talent at the skill positions at running back and receiver, but they've lacked that quarterback play. I mean, you've seen what Jason Brownlee's doing in New York Jets camp. It's a guy that I've been extremely high on, and he has never really got that opportunity to go be an alpha WR1 at Southern Miss. So maybe it's Ty Mims that could do it. That'd be sick. But you look at look at this roster. Frank Gore sticks out. He is one of the premier running backs in the entire country, regardless of where he plays at. So he's going to be a menace all season long. The production's going to be there. And like Dan said, Jay Stanley, again, he's one of the premier safeties in all of college football as well. That's another Power 5 SEC talent. He and Yam Banks are sensational players. Imagine if they were playing together. Imagine all Sun Belt team. Who would we beat? We want the SEC. We'd smoke them. No biggie. Jay Jones, though, another talented player. MJ Daniels. Like, they have guys everywhere. It's just about finding something at quarterback, man. And if they can find that one thing at quarterback, you would assume that they're going to take off, right? Because we've seen them succeed without it. Now, just imagine, like Dan said, consistent quarterback play. And all we're asking for, truthfully, is maybe a smidge below average. Okay, a smidge above below average. Whoever's above a smidge above below average, and they'll be. I don't know why I'm saying, but that's the level of quarterback play that they need. It's so nothing that they need at quarterback that could really transcend them into being even better. It sounds like I'm a maniac right now. I'm a mad scientist trying to cook something up. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, a little quarterback play will go a long way. It'll open up the run game more. You'll get the ball in Ty Mims' hands and these other talented receivers, and you'll take off. They could do something. They're another team that plays Tulane. They're another team that Tulane is going to struggle
with. Southern Miss does have a really tough schedule out of conference. They, again, 2 bye games. They play at Florida State and at Mississippi State and Tulane. They could be a 1-3 non-con, which I think would betray the quality of this ball club a little bit.
It would. It's similar to what happened with Georgia State last season. They kind of got ravaged by non-conference play, if I'm not mistaken, and really set the tone off all season long, and they were never able to find their footing. But you start with Alcorn State. It's going to be a win at Florida State. It's just, you're going to lose. You're probably going to lose unless something of old Florida State happens, and you're tearing down their goalposts after you win there, but in Tallahassee. But I really think, not to pick on Tulane or anything, but I think Southern Miss is another team that really can beat Tulane. They
did it last year.
Yeah, I won't use it for a hot take or a bold prediction or anything, because they did do it last year, and because I want to save that for my South Alabama one. But Southern Miss went out there, they beat Tulane last season, and then Tulane went on a tear, an absolute tear. Tulane's going to regress this season. I don't think people are really cognizant of that. I know you and I are, though. I like 2-2 for Southern Miss and their non-conference, and they'll figure the rest out. They'll get 6 wins. They'll make a bowl game. I like them for 7.
Yeah, I do like that they promoted internally for the defensive coordinator role with Dan. I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but he was on the staff there. Dan O'Brien. Yeah, I thought he was the old Maryland quarterback Daniel O'Brien. When I was reading about it, I was like, wait a second. But yeah, Dan O'Brien. So maintaining, promoting there from the Armstrong staff, because Austin Armstrong did such a great job there. And
he did with that nasty defense and that final tilt, man. That final stretch of games that USM has at Louisiana, at Mississippi State versus Troy, it's where boys become men.
Yeah,
that's what others are saying.
Yeah. And this defense, they hit like men. So they're physical defense. They're fast, very, very aggressive. A lot of takeaways on this defense. So
again, whatever I was trying to say about the quarterback play, it's just they just need so little from there, and they could be a really good team that shocks a lot of people, that wins games that people don't expect, that competes in games that people don't expect. Beat Tulane, and then what? And then what? Can you win against Troy? Can you win at Louisiana? Can you go to App State and win? That's how Alabama can compete. Tough schedule, but if this team gets the ball rolling with the confidence of a Tulane win, anything is possible.
I'll say this. We're describing here a team with not great passing offense and a really, really good defense, but I recommend this team to watch. They play some funky games. Will Hall came up, cut his teeth on the offensive side of the ball. Has had coordinated some really, really good offenses, and he coached under Willie Fritz. So he's definitely got some of those Willie Fritz funky option tricks in his bag.
Yeah.
Like I said, the takeaways, this team scores touchdowns on on defense, on special teams, some Frank Gore heroics. They're a fun team to watch. Try to catch some of their games.
Yeah, Hall's a budding star as well.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. We're gonna wrap. Oh no, there's two more. Texas State, new coach here, GJ Kinney coming in from Incarnate Word, and he's bringing pretty much everybody, half his coaching staff, his whole offensive line. Texas State it's just a full on import from San Antonio coming in. So as we all know, Jake Spavital had this roster in the dumps, just basically stopped recruiting high school players, which is not a thing you want to do in Texas. So Kinney's rebuilding those pipelines, developing relationships with high school quarterbacks there in the Lone Star State, but high school coaches in the Lone Star State. But it's still, that's going to be a long process to get back on the map. In the meantime, he did raid the portal, but not as his only strategy. He's, it's supplementing the roster. So big roster flip, turned it over, 50 plus newcomers coming in. So they're going to run that offense that Kinney was running at Incarnate Word, where Lindsey Scott Jr. had over 70 touchdowns, which is an insane, just an incredibly fast, high-paced offense. And, we'll see if either Malik Hornsby or TJ Finley, two SEC backups transferring in, which one will have more success. Hornsby, of course, is an incredible athlete, one of the best at the position in the country. There are some stars here. Ashton Hawkins, like you talked about. Calvin Hill, running back, really good player. Jordan Revels, defensive end, is going to be a monster. I think Ben Bell is going to be a nice compliment to him. And I think there's a chance that this team is going to surprise some people, kind of like what Georgia Southern did last year. A little roster, little culture flip, and you sneak out a few wins, and suddenly you're looking at a 6-win season. So I'm predicting a bowl for Texas State.
Yeah, well,
I'm stomping on my end of the podcast hot takes there.
That I already did, so it's the only thing that you did as well. Texas State is the longest tenured FBS program to have not qualified for a bowl game. It's been since 2012 that they haven't been able to do it. That was when they got into the FBS. It's about time, Texas State. The clock is ticking. Let's figure it out. They are going to be a really exciting team to watch. I know when we talk about the Sun Belt, it is the Fun Belt. They're going to put the fun in the Fun Belt with TJ Kinney. I hope that it's Malik Hornsby at quarterback, because I just think he is such a exciting talent. He is an incredible athlete with Usain Bolt-esque speed on the football field, and he has a live arm. It's about if he could place the ball nicely and figure things out there. But the offense is going to be high flying, and it's going to be enjoyable to watch nonetheless. It's that start to the season, man. You're at Baylor, you're at UTSA versus Jackson State versus Nevada in your non-conference play. It's not too favorable. I would say
that's 2-2. You can do 2-2.
I would say you should go 2-2 as well. But at Southern Miss, at Louisiana, to open up your Sun Belt play is not very cool. I also hate the fact that they don't play a weeknight game all season. Is that a mistake? What is that? We don't get Texas State on a Wednesday or a Thursday night. Come on, they should have hooked us up with that. So that kind of stinks. But it is it's a bit tough, that schedule.
Yeah, Baylor and UTSA to start, kind of a rough way to start the GJ Kinney area. I do circle the Georgia Southern game. That is going to be points. There is no defense played in that game. So
yeah, I heard the total was going to be 145.5 when there's opening. So maybe I'll take the under. I think that they're in the ballpark of anywhere from 4 to 6 wins. I lean towards not making a bowl game. I lean towards the 4 or the 5. It's a really tough schedule for a team with so many new players coming in. And they've got to figure out the quarterback situation. I like TJ a lot. I think they could figure it out in year 2, and this season's all about building towards 2024 and sparking something that you be really positive about going into next season. Maybe hit the portal again, get even more talent, and especially at receiver because they're going to need it after Hawkins using the parts. So all about building blocks, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they take care of business in the games against Jackson State, Nevada, ULM, Arkansas State, then you just got to find 2 wins in crazy shootout fashion, like against Georgia Southern or Louisiana or Southern Miss. Just just get in there and let the funny shaped ball bounce weird, and suddenly you're looking at a 48-45 win. That's kind of how Georgia Southern made the bowl last year. Like they were not that impressive in losses to Georgia State or Louisiana on the midweek game there. Marshall, like they didn't play that well all season. They just won 3 crazy shootouts in Lincoln, James Madison, and then App State to end the year. So just a whole business against the teams you are better than, and find two shootouts on the schedule.
Yeah, just score 50.
Yeah, just do it. It's
Magic
easy.
number. It's easy.
Yeah. If you have the DJ Kinney playbook, it's easy, apparently.
Go for 2. Yeah. Just go for 2 all the time and steal extra points so that when you score 3 touchdowns, you're actually, this is genius. Just keep going for 2. It's the new meta. It's the new meta for Texas State. What do they have to lose? They don't have anything to lose, so let's go for 2 all the time. When your opponents are scoring 3 touchdowns and they're only at 21, you're actually scoring 3 touchdowns. You're at 24. So much better. So much simpler.
I mean, if you can get them.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously you're going to get them. You have GJ. You have, not to go all the way back on the Texas State stuff, but I want to see 2 quarterback stuff. Maybe GJ, figure it out on the 2-point conversions. Line up like Montana State did all the time with Chambers and Malott. Let's go with a little Hornsby is flanked to the right of Finley, who's taking the snap, or you think he's taking the snap, but they're really snapping it. We gotta move on.
We're gonna move on to the team that won the West last year, the Troy Trojans. Slid over from the East in realignment, and then just went ahead and won their new division in John Summerall's first year. Took over a pretty solid roster. Chip Lindsey left behind and just coached them up. So that defense was tremendous. Top 10 in SP+. It was the real deal. Like I said, they won 3 different games where they only scored 1 offensive touchdown. So while that's a sign of some of the offensive struggles, it's also a testament to an amazing defense. They won the Cure Bowl against UTSA in a tremendous matchup of excellent G5 teams, and really frustrated them with takeaways. And defense returns a lot of guys. Obviously, they lose Carlton Marshall, but Reddy Stewart is at cornerback is one of the best defensive backs in the entire G5, if not the country. I think this front 7 is loaded. TJ Jackson, Richard Jibunar, these are star level players. And offense, can you show us more than just complimentary football? Can you be more than that? Is there more lying in ways? Gunnar Watson have a step forward? Does Kamani Vidal have a step forward? Or does the loss of some of these guys to the portal, Tez Johnson off to Oregon, is that going to hurt them and cause them to take a step back? I kind of see some regression to the mean. I think they're going to fall down to the 8-4 range. I was high on them last year. I predicted them to win the West on this podcast last year. I'm calling it a step back. I still think they're going to be really good and fun to watch. Same recipe, but just some fewer breaks.
Yeah, watch the defense when you watch Troy, and maybe switch channels when the offense is out there, unless you want to watch them run the rock 100 times for 4 yards of carry, and then keep doing it over and over, and then maybe hit a big pass play. But I mean, yeah, the defense is obviously the calling card with this team. There's so much talent. Reddy Stewart is ready to show people. Oh my gosh, and Drewster pun on that accident. Oh my god,
incredible!
I love it. I should be disqualified for speaking for Coastal or something as punishment. I like TJ Jackson down there in the trenches as well. All you're going to talk about with the team, Richard Juvenard, Javon Solomon, the defense is loaded everywhere you look. Namaje Yancey, someone that could break out. Reggie Bracey, they've got dudes everywhere. It's just, as a fan of college football. I like watching good offense, and it's really hard for me to get attached to a team that plays dinosaur football on the offensive end a bit. And Troy really loves running it 135 times a game. And, I respect it always well. I'm not going to lie. I love doing that in NCAA football. So I look forward to building a program when the new game returns and playing dinosaur football. But it's a tough watch. And I think that kind of puts me into also thinking they're going to be down, because what I do is I just think, oh, they can't score enough. Their defense is elite, but like they can't score enough. And eventually, like, the defense is going to have to give up that 18th point or 20th point sometime that their offense can't overcome. So I think at the end of the day, you and I think the same things about Troy. We have the same mind for them this year. I like 8 wins. You should expect them to really give K-State a tough test, because that defense is going to keep them in the game. The Western Kentucky game, though, I fear for. Again, that defense, elite. Western Kentucky's offense is every bit as elite as Troy's defense is elite. I'm going to have to give the hand to WKU's offense. And that's a part of the schedule where right off the bat, after you beat an FCS opponent, Stephen F. Austin, you're at K-State, first JMU, first Western Kentucky. Could you make things a little easier in September? September is supposed to be a little fun, get your feet wet, like let's get rolling, get the ball rolling. You're in a gauntlet. Why? That's so bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're still going to be really good. I think they're going to be the class of the West with South Alabama. It's just last season was a dream season. It's just not going to be a dream season. It's going to be a really good team, but just not the dream.
It's always hard to replicate, especially when you're winning so many low-scoring games. Like,
right.
It doesn't happen year to year in this sport that often. So, especially at this level, I like the 8-win range. I won't be surprised if it's Southern Miss that's finishing second in this conference. No, that's finishing third in this division. I guess we're doing predictions on the fly because that's where my brain went. But
I stomped on my own hot take, but that's my hot take.
Okay,
you stomped on one of mine too.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I'm like trying to think, like South Alabama 1, Louisiana 2, Southern Miss 3, and then Troy would be 4. It's a very strong 4 teams in the West. Someone has to finish 4th there before the drop off occurs. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Troy will kind of falter to that middle range. It stinks, but we kind of expect it. The defense is still going to show out. That's fun.
Yeah. Speaking of 4 teams that contend, we're going to switch to the East. So the way I see it, there are 4 teams that have a clear shot that you can easily write the path to winning the East. And that's James Madison, App State, Coastal, and Marshall. I think any of these teams, like any given day, if you ask me to choose one, I choose one on Monday, one on Tuesday, a different one Wednesday, and the 4th on Thursday. Like, they're all good. I think Georgia Southern, the 2 Georgias, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, are sleepers. And then I think Old Dominion is in for a long year. We'll get there. But let's start with.
Gosh, we have to go there.
We have to talk about Old Dominion.
We have to. Okay.
I don't like saying mean things, but it's going to be a long year.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting year, but it'll be a long one. We're going to talk about App State as we're going alphabetically. First of our 4 contenders here. Tough year last year. Chase Bryce, he put up some numbers, but the offense was still solid, but that defense really, really regressed. Just lost a lot of their toughness, their physicality. They've been kind of the calling card there in Boone for so long. Mm-hmm. And they lost some shootouts that I know kind of needed that program. So to fix it, they went and brought back Frank Punt, Scott Sloan. These are guys that were on these staffs as the team transitioned up to the FBS level and really built this program. So they have been off at other jobs. So kind of getting back to those App State roots, that physicality, and we'll see. That toughness isn't going to work. Are you buying in? Young defense, a lot of talent there, and a lot of offensive skill playmakers. Ryan Berger taking over at quarterback. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of doubling down on the staffs that built this program 10 years ago. Is it a little Scott Frost in Nebraska? Is it like that
Oh gosh,
gives me
why'd you have to say
pause,
that?
right? That you're kind of like retreading just the brand that once was established. I don't think so. I think this is a move back to the roots, and I think App State is going to rebound pretty easily, in my opinion.
Can I tell you how much the level of stokage I have? I am more stoked. I am more stoked than a Malibu resident going to surf in 75-degree weather on a like, I don't know, a day in the calendar year. I am stoked to watch a different face play quarterback for App State. I cannot wait to see what Ryan Berger brings to the table. I don't know much about the guy. You don't know much about the guy. Nobody knows much about the guy because they're keeping this stuff locked down, and we'll find out a lot about him early on against Gardner Webb in North Carolina, especially in North Carolina game. I can't wait to see what this kid brings to the table. I am so excited to see a different face there. I don't think that the Chase Bryce experiment went near as planned. It just was not. He didn't move the needle in the slightest, and now we have a fresh face that could hopefully move the needle. And I don't know, like the needle's like moving. App State not back, App State back, and we're all the way. We're going App State all the way back. 6.5 wins is a slap in the face. That is a disgustingly low number. You need to take the over. When we're talking about running backs in college football, and we get to the group of 5, and Nate Noel not being at the top of the discussion boards for best running backs in the group of 5 is preposterous. He's every bit up there with Frank Gore Jr. and Rasheen Ali as anyone. Like he is a premier running back in the sport. No offense to Cam Peoples, because I love Cam Peoples. He's a good guy that we've had on our podcast before. Loved interviewing him. He got his shot in the NFL too. He's getting that. I can't wait to see what he does. Nate Noel's just a better pro prospect, and that's just how it goes sometimes. The shiftiness, the elusiveness, the absurdity that this guy is able to do when the ball is in his hands and he's going downhill. He will make you miss, and then he'll remind you that he made you miss, and he'll remind you again on the next carry because he made you miss again. He's an electric factory, human joystick. He's going to go off this season. I don't even think you mentioned Bucky Williams and how high you are on that kid. It was almost a catastrophic situation that we had if you and I didn't make sure he was on our all Sun Belt team. That is a tremendous player that you have in the trenches. App State is really good, man. You look at Christian Hortu at receiver, Ken Robinson, Deshaun Davis. You've got deep threats for days. Berger, let's throw the ball deep. Let's see what you've got as a vertical in the vertical passing game. And as I said, at the top, Tyreek Funderburk and Jordan Favors are going to be breakouts in their secondary. And like you said, it's about getting tougher again, being stingy. Getting back to App State is tough. We're going to hit you. We're going to make sure you know it. And we're going to pride ourselves on that. Defense has the guys to do it. I'm very, again, stoked about App State. I like the schedule. I like the tests that they have. When you look at non-conference schedules for these group of 5 teams, the first thing that I'm always doing after kind of evaluating where I think this team could be is looking at what non-conference tests they have. Been thinking for months about how App State's at North Carolina and they're at Wyoming. Those are 2 really good road games to test yourselves with before you're going into one of the tougher divisions in college football, which is the Sun Belt East.
Right.
I
and
said
very
a lot of words.
Too. And very different tests, too. North Carolina, of course, Drake May. They're going to test you vertically. That's going to be an interesting team. But you'll probably, if you're App and you think your offense is good, you're going to be able to get yours against them. They did last year and scored 61.
Yeah.
And Wyoming wants to, grind you into a paste. So just
a
really
bit similar to Troy.
Yeah. So except you got to do it at elevation. So.
And you gotta prepare to block some field goals from John Hoyland, best kicker in the Mountain West. But I mean, yeah, like
I'll trust you on that. I'm not a Mountain West guy.
Best kicker in the guy. That's an NFL kicker. He's going to be my K9, which goes to my top kicker in the NFL draft. It just sounds cooler than K1. But I'm all in.
I love the skill talent here, and Amani Marshall, Nate Noel. Even Navy transfer, Mikael
Yeah,
Haywood. I think they're going to have really, really good running back room.
which we love with App State is always this running back by committee, but they're always smart about it. They're never they're always smart with the like hot hand and the momentum that they're giving to a guy and splitting the touches evenly and keep him fresh for next week in the NFL. I love it. What are you? Oh, you're realistic for App State's 8-4 with a ceiling of 10-2. We won't talk
Yeah.
about the 5-7 floor, but
I mean, I did have to put that floor there just because there's a chance that like if Burger stinks and the
not a
regression
sneaky burger.
and if the regression on
Oh,
offense on defense sticks again, like is this more deep seated
yeah.
than it seems? I don't think it is. I think this is a really good roster that had a weird, strange, emotional year, riddled with injuries. Peoples and Noel both missed a lot of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do have to replace both tackles. Both tackles are really good too, but I think it's a really good roster. A lot of talented players on defense, and I think they're not that far off. They slipped a little, but they didn't crater. So
Yeah,
App State.
let's make sure it's not Burger King and that it's like Five Guys or something. If he's Five Guys quality, looking good, expensive, but very good, very talented. I don't know. Look at the schedule. You went 8-4, so you don't have them beating North Carolina. Wow, what a fake Sunbelt guy.
This one is in Chapel Hill. I feel like they had that shot last year on the Rock, and they couldn't quite close the deal.
Yeah, I would say it's like I think predicting a 2-2 star is fair, but I'm more optimistic and like going with the 3-1. I think if what we're saying about the offense is true, then they should be able to go and beat Wyoming on the road. At UL Monroe should be a win. The Coastal game on the Tuesday, man. I don't know what else you're doing on that Tuesday, October 10th, and don't go and tell me you're watching the MLB playoffs or whatever garbage. You're watching Coastal, you're watching App State, you're watching a bitter, nasty rivalry that's going to help dictate who's playing in the Sun Belt Championship game. The fact that neither of us nominated that for a game of the year is so funny.
It was kind of a bummer last year. Kind of forgot how good that game was because it was such a bummer last year. That was the game where McCall was hurt and then was kind of limping around, and it, even though it ended up being high scoring and close, it was just kind of a bummer to watch.
Yeah, well, those two teams hate each other so much, but they have so much respect for each other. It's a great rivalry, and I can't. The fact we get on Tuesday nights, amazing. I can't wait. I really like the schedule, man.
I played like 5 games last year that would have been any team's like craziest game of the decade.
Yeah,
and they had the 63-60, like literally we're going to run these down. The 63-61 game, insane. Go into College Station, beat a top 10 team as a group of 5 team. Come on. You have the Miracle on the Mountain Part 2. You win a game on Hail Mary when you're hosting College Game Day. A historic moment for the Sun Belt for the program. You have a game. You host James Madison coming off of that, and you're up by 3 touchdowns, and you just let that fall apart, and you give James Madison a signature win in the Sun Belt. Just a brutal, brutal loss. And then to end the game, another brutal loss to end the season, the double overtime in the deeper than hate game. Like all of those games are just absurd matchups. So
it's I don't know. We're really optimistic this year though. Flip that switch, get things going. 8-9 wins, man. I don't know who's gonna rep the Sun Belt East in the Sun Belt Championship game. I really don't. I know I wrote something down. I won't say what I wrote down, but that could very well change in the next 2 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. I already changed out on the Pac-12 pod what I went with. I could very well change this one. Like we might as well draw it out of a hat.
One of the 4 contenders is Coastal Carolina, of course. This defense cratered last year. It was one of the worst in FBS, especially the secondary. The front 7 was still kind of solid. They were okay against the run. Jared Clark up there, Josiah Stewart, but those guys are gone now. I'm worried about the defense overall. Jamie Chadwell off to Liberty, of course, but Grayson McCall is back. All those skilled guys are back. defense, is there competency here? Is there a path to competency on defense? If so, they can get back to the championship game easily. If not, they're going to be locked in shootouts, and some of those could go the wrong way.
Yeah, I think Jacob Prochet is someone that we should be looking at. He's going to have more of an elevated role, and he'll play pretty dang good this season. Um, I, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of new names that are getting into the mix, right, for Coastal's defense. So there's going to be some guys that we just need to get more familiar with, and we'll see that very early on when they play at UCLA to kick things off. And we're going to learn a lot more about these guys. It's going to be a nice test for them, whether UCLA is bringing out Colin Schlee or Dante Moore. That's a very, very it's a tough system to maybe play against, and I don't know. We'll see. It's a tough system for like whatever words. It's going to be a good test for them regardless. I've said good test a million times, but losing Josiah Stort to Michigan, absolutely brutal. The carnage, man, that hurts. So we're gonna have to figure out who steps up in his place, and it's kind of the calling card of this team. Kind of the a common theme here is who steps up, who breaks out on the defense. I really like Jacob Prochet, though. And on offense, we could talk about their offense all day. I was a bit skeptical of the Tim Beck hire at first. I thought it was maybe a little safe as opposed to going for like a true grand slam. But I've come to like this a lot more, and I absolutely love the Travis Trickett hire. And after speaking to Grayson about this offense and what to expect, I can't be more excited. I cannot. Is again common theme with all these top tier Sunbelt teams. I can't wait. It's such good football. It's so refreshing to watch instead of that garbage that they play in the Big Ten West. This is the good stuff. It blows my mind that college football fans enjoy watching like a Big Ten game over this stuff when it's a Big Ten game that's not featuring like Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, whatever. This stuff is so much better. He was talking to us about this offense, Grayson was. He was saying, oh, don't worry. Some of that Chadwell stuff is staying. I've made sure I've talked to Tim and Travis, and we're going to bring some of the Chadwell stuff back, but there's going to be some new, refreshing components of this offense that you could really take a liking to. And we're going to make sure that we're getting the ball in Jared Brown's hands, but we're also going to make sure I'm running less. I'm going to throw a lot more. We're not going to like tax my body so much. And because Grayson was getting hurt these last few years, and it was a big thing that they're going to make sure that he's not taking so many hits. So you're going to see even more quick passing game stuff, and the offense is going to look a little different. Some of the key components are back, but it's going to be electric. And I don't know. You look at the running back room; it's one of the deeper running back rooms.
I was just going to say,
yeah, Reese White, C.J. Beasley, Braden Bennett,
yeah.
If Braden Bennett could be one of the breakout players in the entire conference. Like if this guy is what we think he could have been last year, but unfortunately they ain't gonna showcase that, it's gonna be excellent. Bruin's barking because he's so hyped.
Yeah, I think the skill position, both of that, like they have probably the best receivers in the conference, and they have probably the best running backs in the conference. I think definitely the best overall group of skill. It's them or App. The little worried about the defense there, but what they're losing if they're able to.
Yeah, we really have to worry about the defense.
Yeah, but you just win every game as a shootout and it'll be fine. Schedule's manageable, and you draw Arkansas State from the West and Texas State as well. So you want those.
Very nice.
That's the James Madison combo from last year. So you get those. Even though I do think Texas State is a sleeper, you're not getting South Island Troy like the Dukes.
Yeah. Win total 7.5.
Yeah, and I mean they could go 11-1, 12-0. They could if the defense gets back to the levels where it was a couple years ago. If the offense doesn't miss a beat, they can easily win at UCLA. We know Chip takes September's off.
So that game I think could go. It could go in any way possible. I think UCLA could win by 20. I think Coastal could win by double digits, or I think it could come down to a last second field goal. I have no clue in which direction that game's going to go. But like you said, Chip takes September's off. Coastal, we're going to get that new look to the offense. It's all about figuring out what the defense could do. But I mean, they should do a lot of good things this season. The non-conference schedule is very manageable. I'm already, maybe it's the pessimism in me as a UCLA fan. I already did the Pac-12 pod. I was low on UCLA. You should beat Jacksonville State. You should crush Duquesne. At Army, you're lower on them. I'm lower on them this year, but that's late in the season. You should still beat them.
Yep.
I like the schedule. You get Marshall at home. You get James Madison at home. I don't know, like it's the schedule's good. At Old Dominion is such a throwaway. Again, it doesn't matter if you play them literally on the beach at Old Dominion or I don't know, like name a place
Well,
at my house, like you beat them.
Well, they didn't last year, and that was the game where the floodgates really opened for the defense because the cracks have been showing that the competency that had been there under Chad Staggs was really starting to wear thin, and then it just fell apart in that Old Dominion game, and they were just Blake Watson was running for 50-yard scores like it was nothing. So as long as they can clean up that defense, you're not going to turn into Troy or Marshall, but just get into that 70th range instead of that 110th range, And I had another point and I have totally forgotten what it was.
So well, I'm in that 9-10 win range. It's again another contender of the Sun Belt East. We'll see what happens. Fan favorite, or you actually hate them. So who knows? Love them or hate them. Coastal's back.
It's the last ride for Grayson McCall. Oh,
the encore.
For Tim Beck, on offense, he's, it's a safe hire like you said, but he has coordinated some, perfectly cromulent offenses throughout his career. Like I think that matching what just good old fun normal college football with the funky Chadwell leftover stuff. Craig Mievard, their new defensive coordinator, has no track record of success. Just mostly been a position coach. One or two really rough stints. I'm not inspired by that hire. So
I'm Travis Trickett's going to be a bright name to look out for too. I'm so glad that Beck brought him here, and the Grayson connection with Jared Brown is going to be must-see TV. That team is just loaded with extremely good, prolific offensive talent at the skill positions, and then you have the best quarterback in the group of five and Grayson McCall. Like, just like Dan said, 70s, 80s for the defense, and you can do some lethal damage all season long.
Yeah. So speaking of another all offense, no defensive team, that is the Georgia Southern Eagles. They switched last year from the decades of triple option success to Clay Helton. He brought in Brian Ellis, run the offense, installed an RPO system that caught fire, really worked in year one. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Like, you look at some of the transitions out of the triple option, I mean, just right here in their own state and with Georgia Tech and how long and drawn out that process can be. But it turns out when you have some talented guys, and honestly, if you're running just a ton of RPOs, it's kind of like a triple option, like the decision making and everything. Yeah, the plays look different, but it's a lot of the same philosophy of how you're going to test a defense, and it worked way better than anybody could have thought. So even though the season was pretty up and down and the defense was just atrocious, they, like I said, they stole 3 absolute shootouts and snuck into a bowl. So it was a great first season. I am worried about regression. I think people are kind of looking at people that are choosing them as a sleeper for the East, in my opinion, are kind of looking and just saying, hey, they're going to improve. But Kyle Van Treese was such a perfect fit for this offense. He basically never, ever, ever took a sack. So this was something that I wrote about in the preview. His pressure to sack rate was like under 5%. That's unheard of. He made quick, sharp decisions in the RPO offense, got rid of the ball in a hurry. Davis Sprint coming in from Tulsa, he will hold on to the ball. Yeah, that means he picks up some yards and scrambles, but he also will take some negative plays. He takes a lot of sacks. So if Brent isn't as decisive and aggressive getting the ball to the playmakers, which they're loaded with playmakers, as I'm sure you will inform us soon, I do worry about some offensive aggression here. I think there's a chance for some defensive improvement just because I like the hire. new coordinator coming in from Buffalo. Buffalo was one of the best takeaway teams in the country last year. So I don't know if you're going to be stout on defense, but just take away the ball like twice a game instead of, I think they had one of the fewest amount of turnovers in the country last year. So get that, flip that, and create an extra possession or two for yourself, and maybe it'll be better. So I don't know. Tell us about these loaded receivers and running backs.
Well, yeah, the really good thing here is it's another Sunbelt team, shocker, with a really good running back room. Jalen White, OJ Arnold, Terrence Gibbs. These guys are all going to eat. Jalen White, the best of the bunch right now, but I wouldn't sleep on OJ and Terrence they're both underclassmen, so they've really got to pave their way in the sport and make things happen. But that's a dang good trio right there. Caleb Hood, probably, he's a top three. He's definitely a top third receiver in the conference. I ranked Jared Brown 1. Then I'd have Hood and Hawkins, some combination as the 2-3. They're all excellent players. Caleb Hood, we had a really good story about him in the magazine that y'all should read. 999 from a magazine, very good deal. Yeah, Caleb Hood is the focal point of this offense at the end of the day, and Davis Brin needs to get that guy the rock. Derwin Burgess, Anthony Quealy, Dalen Cobb, Jalen Barden. Like, there's guys, Marcus Sanders.
My guy Jr., Sam Kennerson.
There are too many players. Sam Kennerson. They have too many receivers. So Davis Brin, you're in for a tough task because you've got to find a way to make them all very happy. I don't envy you there. It's going to be a tough job, but yeah, like Dan said, you want to get the ball out of your hand very quickly. You don't want to take sacks. You want your playmakers to make things happen, and you have a bevy of them to do it. We named like 10 legit skill players that can make stuff happen. If you're looking at the defense, though, gotta find something. You don't have Derek Cantina anymore. Marcus Watson Trent, excellent player that's probably going to be an NFL guy. Find stuff in the secondary, though. Cam Williams, Justin Meyer, Seth Robertson, Tyrell Davis, TJ Smith, Demo Hickman. What guys are going to step up? Mark Stampley II is a young guy that could really find something. There's a lot. I'm not really going to go in the trenches, but at secondary, we've got to figure something out. And there's a lot of guys that you could try and predict breakouts from, and we'll see very early on. I would say against the Dilfers of UAB, if that secondary is legit, and then at Wisconsin's a really good test because Wisconsin's transitioning to that. I don't know, where are we calling it, the
Dairy Raid,
the Milky Raid, the Berry Raid,
Dairy Raid,
the Dairy Raid. Yeah, okay.
Could you imagine taking somebody in from 2019 and putting them in a time machine and then showing them what 2023 Wisconsin Georgia Southern is going to look like? Two of the most pound the rock programs of the last 2 decades, and they're about to put on. They're both going to pass the ball 50 times. I don't know what's going to happen here in this game.
Hey man, I have my doubts about Wisconsin and the Dairy Raid work in year 1. I guess that I'm not on the Big Ten pod, so I guess I'll save this for another time. But right. Georgia Southern,
I think I'm bullish on that program, like in general, like the future Fickles.
Yeah, I like the future. I'm not could be a weird year. Guy.
Could be a weird
I'm not a big Longo guy. I wasn't a fan of really. I thought he underperformed rather in years past with UNC. And if you're really gonna let Tanner Mordecai throw the ball 40 times a game instead of handing it off to Braylon Allen, look at 20 to 25. Like, are you gonna? It's not as beneficial as it might sound, or it doesn't sound beneficial at all. Rather, whatever. We're on Georgia Southern at Wisconsin. It's gonna be a fun game. Can your offense go toe-to-toe with them? The defense is going to have its work cut out for them, but it's a nice test. At Ball State's another, pretty big test. I did the MAC preview, 8 hours of action podcasting. Ball State has one of the best tight end duos in the country with Brady Hunt and Tanner Cozy. Also, this is a big opportunity for Georgia Southern's defense to figure out a way to cover 2 very talented tight ends. So Sunbelt, not a really good tight end. It's probably the worst tight end conference in the entire country.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that'll prepare you very well for whatever the heck the rest of the Sunbelt has to offer at a tight end position. But it's a brutal start to your schedule, dude. At Wisconsin, at Ball State versus Coastal, at JMU. That's games 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not very fun.
No, but they do get a good West draw with
Yep,
ULM and Texas State. So that's what you want.
indeed they do. Your realistic prediction 6-6. Positive Dan says 8-4. Negative says 3-9. You're still feeling that 6-6?
Yeah, I think they can get back to that. Just because I think the manageable non-con. I think the offense will be good enough to win a couple games. I think the new turnover focused defense will maybe have a game where they, win the turnover battle, in a swingy manner. But the defense is again positioned to be in a position is again in a spot where they can just not be competitive in some games. Like I'm worried about like Coastal or James Madison or even the Georgia State running game, just kind of taking it to them and just playing keep away. Louisiana was able to do that against them last year. Marshall was able to do them against them last. These are not like tremendous offenses, but they were able to just pound the rock all day against them. And if the defense doesn't improve with all these young guys, they're gonna lose those games where the other team just owns the rock all day.
Yeah. Also, a name I actually wanted to talk about was JJ McCaffrey. I think that he could be the best tight end in the Sun Belt. I voted him for our all preseason Sun Belt team TE1. He had really good metrics last season. He was just averaging so many yards per catch. And I was talking to someone else, and I was asking him his thoughts on Sun Belt Titans, and he said that McCaffrey projects the best. He has a really good receiving background, so maybe look at JJ McCaffrey and be a breakout player. He's a senior. I don't know what year it is for him, but at quarterback, if the Davis Brin project goes south, do we see J.C. French or Bo Allen get in there? And I'm curious. I kind of want to see how one of those two would fare. Maybe we get them in late in the game if the game's out of hand. I want to see how those two fare. I really want. I would love to see. I've just Davis Brin doesn't exactly put fans in stands.
Yeah, for me it's hard to see like progression or regression for this team unless Brin is a disaster. I think it's going to be hard. They're not going to get better on offense. They're not going to top what Ventrese was able to do, even though the skill positions are just as good. And I'm not bullish on the defense getting better. So
Yeah,
it's hard for
I'm
me
in
to
that
see.
6-6.
You got to go with the same recipe. You're going to win the ones you should win, lose the ones and then steal a couple with some crazy shootouts. So, in-state rivals, Georgia State looking to bounce back after a tough year. That was a strange 2022 for them. They went in with just all kinds of returning production, COVID seniors up and down the roster. We were high on them just because of what they were returning. Program legends like Tucker Gregg and Jemias Williams at running back. Excellent receiver in Jamari Thrash, Darren Granger. Once he had taken over the reins in 2021, they really caught fire down the stretch. We were high on this team in the pod, the two of us. We were both talking 9-3 kind of season. And it just started off so weird for them with that 0-4 start. South Carolina game was close until the floodgates opened with some special team scores. North Carolina, they drew them weird. Lost by 1 to Charlotte.
Losing to
Not good
Charlotte was the
team.
worst
That was
performance that any team has had in college football in 2022. That was the most embarrassing loss.
Gave up a late score that they should not have given up. But then they kind of righted the ship down the stretch. Went up there, played a close game with Army, and then really put them away in the second half. Beat rivals Georgia Southern. And then again, faltered down the stretch 0-3 to close out the year. We're leading James Madison at half by a couple scores, and then just could not stop giving the ball away and allowed the Dukes to come back and steal that one. So a season of wasted potential, I feel like, for Georgia State. Granger is back. Gregg is gone. Williams is gone. Thrash is gone. A couple of starters are gone to go start at defensive starters are gone to start at Power 5 programs. You lose a starter to Miami, USC, and
UNC
North Carolina.
And Lane.
UNC.
Loved Lane.
Yeah, Thomas Gore is going to go start immediately. Like these are some really important guys on that defense, but Um, Kind of doubling down on culture there in Atlanta. So what are you thinking?
I mean, last year was just a blown opportunity. Again, they lost by a point to Charlotte. That's a team that this team should have beat by like 25 plus. They really should have. I think getting out of the gates with 0-2 last year against two very quality opponents, South Carolina, North Carolina. I think that program that had a lot of hope and big aspirations. I kind of think that team, it was a team that returned so much. I think they overreacted to the 0-2 start. And I think just the wheels fell off entirely right away. There was no reason that team should have lost to Charlotte. There was absolutely no reason for that. Inexcusable. And I think it was really just emotionally, the team kind of checked out for whatever reason. That's not good. That's an outsider's perspective, but that's not great. And then
it's not an outsider because we spoke with head coach Sean Elliott when we were making this magazine, and he told us that he thought with all those seniors, with all those returning production, that there was some guys maybe were a little too comfortable in the offseason and didn't necessarily have to fight for their roles, and that created some complacency on the roster. And so that's kind of the downside, right? So if you have all these established players, maybe they aren't working to play. They're not hungry to play the best ball of their lives. So,
yeah, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. And what happened at the end of last season? You lost to UL Monroe by 3, JMU by 2, Marshall by 5. Lost 3 close games. You needed 2 of those to make a bowl game. The epitome of brutality. If losing Jamari Thrash hurts so much. Oh my goodness, he's going to do great things at Louisville this season. It's really about finding a new WR1. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe Jakari Carter. I don't know. Talik Williams, Josiah's Credo, Robert Lewis. Who's going to be the alpha WR1? You need to find that. I still love what Darren Granger brings to the offense. His dual threat dynamic abilities are incredible, and it's really why it's a big reason why we were so high on Georgia State last year, because they had a very strong quarterback. And I expect Granger to return to his true form this season. You'd think it has to be his last season in college football unless something nuts happens. I don't know what happens with eligibility anymore. It's unbelievably difficult to predict because random things happen all the time. Marcus Carroll, really good running back. KZ Adams, young, and maybe he could carve out a big role too. They've got guys. You look at the defense, Bryquise Brown, really strong cornerback. Tyji Leach, Jalen Tate, nice safeties. Anyone on the defense really excite you aside from the guy's eyes name?
Yeah, I like linebacker Jordan Veneziali. I think that he's a pretty important player there for them in the middle. I like Marcus Carroll to have a big year. Sean Elliott has really pretty much always had a good running game, and with Darren Granger there in the running game, I think Carroll's gonna have a big year when he's back.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the schedule, so you're going ceiling 8-4, floor 4-8, realistically 6-6. You start with Rhodey, nice little Thursday game. The Connecticut game, who knows, man? And if you lose to Charlotte again, I swear I can't be in on Georgia State again. But I'm optimistic. I like
and
Sean
you have
Elliott.
LSU too.
Yeah, you do have LSU week 11.
This is a high variance team for me. I could see them winning 8 or 9. I could see them losing 8 or 9. Really,
the Sun Belt East, man.
Yeah.
Some say it's the best conference, the best division in all sports. It's better than the AL East.
You hear it more and more.
Yeah. At Coastal versus Troy versus Marshall, at Louisiana, at Georgia Southern versus James Madison versus App State. What the heck is that, though?
That is
that's a
half
string of
the good teams in the league all in a row.
That's the middle of your season. And yeah, by the way, the versus App State part didn't end because it's at LSU after, but that's games 5-11. That's terrible. Like it's such a shame. It's not their fault, but like, why, man?
Yeah,
it's the same thing as last year where they had to start with South Carolina, North Carolina, and this is just quantifying that by 1 billion. So I would be in the same like 6-6 range just because the meat of that schedule is so disgusting. And yeah, I have optimism that they could pull a few upsets or whatever. But I like Sean Elliott a lot. Chad Staggs, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in year one there from Coastal Georgia State.
I
But
like it. Like, you need a bounce back on defense. You get a guy that needs a bounce back himself. The both Georgia State defense and uh, Chad Staggs have good pedigrees in the Sun Belt East.
yeah,
You know, like
I
they've
like
both
that
done it
thought.
before. Yeah.
It's a very
Um,
good thought process, but man, that schedule burns my eyes. I don't know how Sean is feeling about having to see games 4 through 11 in his sleep every night.
woof. And then ending with LSU. I think
Why,
they're
man? It's just sorry. It's just so like it's such a slap in the face that they end their year. Oh yeah, at Old Dominion.
yeah.
Like
At least they get that.
here's your little road trip against the butt of the conference.
Hey, I
Oh
think they're gonna bounce back.
man,
I don't think they're gonna challenge for the East crown. A team that will, because they were the kings of the East last year, because they couldn't be the champions, were the JMU Dukes. I think they upset some people in Myrtle Beach with that little Kings of the East stunt, but we'll see. James Madison, first year in FBS, took it by storm. So went 8-3, 11-game schedule, of course. That 3-game swoon came right there in the middle of the year when Todd Centeio was out. Other than that, they were really, really good on both sides of the ball all year. This is one of the sturdiest programs in college football. Like, seriously, like outside of like Tuscaloosa and Fargo and Athens, like who over the last decade has been as good for their level of competition. So,
New Mexico
um,
State.
we'll talk about that one off air. I don't know if that's true. Uh,
What? Montana
um,
State, at least. At least give
okay,
me
okay, I'll take
Montana
that.
State.
I'll take that.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean, this is a team that could go 11-1. I don't see how they go worse than like 7-5, 8-4. Quarterback battle, of course, to replace Centeio. They are losing Percy Ajayi Obase, really, really good Sunbelt running back. They're losing receiver.
Chris Thornton.
Oh my God, Chris Thornton. Yes, after losing Antoine Wells the year before. But they got some transfers. They got some new guys ready to step up. Defense loses Isaac Ukwu, but it's going to be really, really good at all three levels again. One thing I did shout out in the article was defense was one of the best in the league, in the country, at preventing successful plays, but you could get big plays against them. You could. So they got to tighten that up a little bit. I think Latrell Palmer, running back, is in for a star turn, replacing Ajayi Obase. And I think this is going to be a really good team.
Yeah, you know how I thought about them going in the last year, and
Yeah,
they even outdid my projections.
I mean, obviously, how do you predict a team coming up from FBS and like call them to be so good? And you were all over it. You were all over it.
And they did even better than I imagined somehow, some way. I am stoked to see where they go this year. I think Latrell Palmer is a really good back. Tyson Lawton, Stony Brook transfer, going to be a guy to look out for. Kalen Black, their third running back, could be another guy to keep eyes on. Zach Horton, one of the upper level tight ends in a weak tight end conference. Offensive line, you said sturdy offensive line. Cole Potts, Nick Kidwell, Tyler Stevens, Tyshawn Wyatt. Gotta love that. That's going to make whoever's playing quarterback very happy and comfortable. Elijah Surratt, wide receiver, look out for Reggie Brown. Phoenix Sproles, NDSU transfer. You talk about Fargo, they get one of their own here. And Sproles, I don't know how his role is going to be, but he's a pretty solid player. Gets after it in the blocking game, if I'm not mistaken. Omarion Dollison from South Florida, another receiver to keep eyes on. Like they've got a lot of talent at JMU, and it is the biggest joke on earth that they don't get to reap any benefits of being successful. So lame.
Yeah, no Sun Belt championship potential again for the Dukes this year. They can make a bowl if there are not enough bowl eligible teams. They would top the line over the smart teams, the 5 and 7 APR teams. So if you're
cool
in a Dukes partisan, you have to root for You're going to be bowl eligible. You're going to win more than 6 games. You just have to root for not enough teams to fill the spots. I think
Yeah,
they're
man.
almost. I think they're going to be favored in Charlottesville against a
I
tough
think they
Virginia
will
team.
too.
Although that is their first home game after the shooting tragedy last year, so it is going to be an emotional day in Charlottesville and for that program. So to bring in an in-state rivalry, like not an on-field rivalry, but definitely James Madison is going to be looking at that game as they're the little brother looking to take down the Power 5 school. It's just going to be an emotional day in the stadium there. Troy, like I said, at Utah State. This is as a full 12 game FBS schedule. This is the hardest schedule in school history, right? So we'll see if they can manage it. I think they will. A lot of talent. They got the best linebacking crew in
Jalen
the
Walker.
maybe
Woof.
in the entire group of 5. Really, really good linebackers here. And Centeio, like I said, quarterback or Cignetti, quarterback wizard. Look at what he's done. So Centeio had no resume when he arrived in Harrisonburg last year, and Cignetti turned him into one of the top quarterbacks at this level. So same thing with Jordan McLeod. No resume whatsoever to speak of, coming from kind of tough stints at USF in Arizona. But they really, really like Alonzo Barnett, high riser. He was moving up the depth chart last year, even as a true freshman. When Centeio's injury was kind of lingering, there was some talk about handing over the reins from Griffiths to the kid Barnett. So I like him as a high ceiling option. Maybe the future of the program there. They're going to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah, you spoke up the linebacking core: Jalen Walker, Taris Jones, Chris Chukwunike. Decent pronunciation there, hopefully. They've got guys, James Carpenter in the trenches.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, the big nasties. Josh Surratt. We talked about Elijah Surratt, receiver. Josh Surratt, corner. Chauncey Logan, Francis Maheen, Devin Coles, like Kay Reed. Dudes everywhere.
Really
dudes
good defense,
everywhere.
yeah.
8.5 win total. Oh man.
Over. Give me the over.
Your schedule. So you're starting with Bucknell, then you're at Virginia, at Troy, at Utah State, first South Alabama versus Georgia Southern, at Marshall. That's your first 7. I like them in that 9-win range. I do think that they'll beat Virginia. I do like them to beat Troy as well. Utah State, I think, could be. Utah State, I think, is going to be a loss because I think coming off the highs of Virginia and Troy wins and then going cross country to Utah State before you're playing South Alabama, I just think that's a gross bit of a trap game.
Okay.
That's all the logic is there.
I need them to take care of business.
I need them to take care of business too.
I need the as a Sunbelt partisan, I need that.
I also need them to take care of business. don't worry. I'll make sure when I record the Mountain West tomorrow, I'll make sure.
You need group of 5 supremacy. You need those bragging rights.
Yes, we do. But like again, it's a very hard schedule, but this is a team that is more than capable of overcoming it.
And of course, the class up.
It's one of the best. I don't know. It's one of the best rosters in Group of 5. It's such a shame that we can't talk about this team as an NY6 rap or even I don't know, making the Dane Conference Championship game and proving their worth there on national TV. It's such a joke.
And it's incredible that they built this roster with FCS player limits 2 years ago. Like they've really had to fill it out, and they did it with incredible fashion. Although I think you saw in that Louisville game that the depth really tested them in that loss last year. Of course, that was a game when Centeio was out, but playing, but really, really infected. So that was
just wait until James Madison is eligible for the postseason. They're finally eligible.
I mean, I think they're going to knock on the door of the 12-team playoff. Like a group of 5 teams getting in, and they're going to be knocking on the. They're going to be one of the ones to consider.
This is for. I don't know.
They got to AP ranked 5 weeks into being an FBS team.
When this team gets brings in a pretty touted quarterback recruit, and they're able to develop that kid in the future, imagine they're going to be able to find this program finds receiver talent. We talked about Chris Thornton, absolutely disgusting what he was able to produce last season in the FBS. Antoine Wells Jr., you could argue he's a top 5 receiver in the sport now. We saw him play as a freshman at James Madison. Menace. He was incredible. They find receivers. It's all about the future. If they could find one quarterback that they could develop in-house, it's great talented as a recruit. And now it's scary to think about, James. I am proud that you and I are two James Madison diehards from the get-go. I love watching this program in the FCS. I think they have one of the better uniforms in all of college football as well. Super underrated there. This should be a fan favorite sooner rather than later. And I don't know, let's go 9-10 wins this season. Let's keep going.
Let's go. They got a couple of Thursday games too, a couple standalone games. So
showcase
that's a good call.
For
the program.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
At Marshall on October 19th on a Thursday. Ooh. Lock in.
Tremendous. That is a huge game. Speaking of the Thundering Herd, they beat James Madison last year. They're going to look to repeat that again. Charles Huff really got this team cooking, even though he cut his teeth on the offensive side of the ball coming up. Fantastic running backs coach. This is a program built around defense. We talk about fast physical defenses. There wasn't any defense in the Group 5 that was faster and more athletic and more aggressive and hard hitting than the Marshall defense. They were a joy to watch. I hope you all caught them. They're going to run it back this year. Coordinator Lance Guidry is off to Miami, right? Miami via Tulane. He had a quick stop there, and now he's with Cristobal's staff. So there is a little concern there losing the coordinator, but you have so many of the important pieces back. Eli Neal is back. Owen Porter is back. And, of course, Micah Abraham is back. Keyshawn Brown, linebacker. You got a bunch of studs on this defense. You need a little more out of offense. You don't want, like I said, you don't want just that Troy-style complementary football. If Cam Fancher can take a step forward, Rasheen Ali, if he can approach what's been done the last couple of years there at running back, Marshall, I think, could win this division.
I was flirting with the idea of choosing them to be my Sun Belt East winner as well. You talk up that defense. Let me give you some names. Micah Abraham, son of Donnie Abraham, one of the premier corners in all of the Group of 5. Just grossly, criminally underrated, extremely good ball hawk. His closing speed is innate. He's just a really good player with NFL bloodlines, and he should be receiving more NFL love than he is, and more college football hype than he is, and it doesn't make sense that he doesn't. I really like Dayton Smith to be a breakout player at nickel. He's someone I had big hopes for in last year's bowl game, and I think he provided a strong enough performance to enlighten me and so many others into buying stock in him for his upcoming season. So if you're not, I would. Dayton Smith is someone that could really break out, versatile at nickel. JJ Roberts, Deani Hill, however you say his name, I'm sorry. Miles Bell, Eli Neal at linebacker, Keyshawn Brown, Owen Porter, Taikazi Legs, however you say his name, is also sick. I don't know, man. Marshall's got dudes with capital DUDES. Offensively, we got to figure it out. Talik Keaton, fascinating receiver. DeMarcus Harris, also good. We got to figure something out with the quarterback game, though. Is it TJ McMahon? Is it Cam Fancher? Hey, Chad Pennington, do you want to let us see Cole Pennington play? That'd be fun, but that might just be ginger bias. It's going to be between Fancher and McMahon, and we'll see who takes the job. But they are, I don't know, this team is blessed with outrageously good defense everywhere. Coached by Charles Huff, tremendous coach. Can we find some offense? I like Clint Trickett a lot. Isn't it great we have both the Tricketts out here in the Sun Belt East?
Good point.
But man,
yeah,
I just looked at the schedule from last year and just had a moment of seeing that they lost to Bowling Green after being Notre Dame. I kind of forgot that happened.
Yeah, it wasn't publicized, but that week of the Bowling Green loss, the
Man.
offensive line coach stepped away from the program. So I think there might have been some strange emotions there in the building. But
Hang
yeah,
Rasheen Ali back, man.
Rasheen
So
Ali back.
clutch, so
Yeah,
clutch.
he
Him and
was unbelievable in 2021.
yeah, him and Ethan Payne bringing the pain and Drewster Pun and banned again, whatever. But you wrote up the preview on Marshall, floor 5-7, 8-4 realistically, ceiling of 10-2. The schedule's nice. At East Carolina's a nice test. The first Virginia Tech should
At
this
home for
isn't
Virginia
like
Tech.
yeah, this isn't like a like shock the world. You beat top 10 Notre Dame. This is gonna be able to beat Virginia Tech on your home
Yeah,
turf. That's the thought here.
I think
At
that's super
NC State
winnable.
as well.
That's tough.
That is
And then
tough, but
draw South
man,
Alabama out of the West. So, but you do get Arkansas State.
I think NC State's a little bit overrated. I talked about that in the ACC
Okay.
pod, and then the ACC preseason stuff came out today, and they were picked like fourth in the conference. I was kind of taken aback by that. I think Marshall could compete with NC State. We saw East Carolina compete with NC State last year.
Yeah.
This NC State team isn't as good as the one last year. I don't know. Like,
I think the recipe, Troy showed us what the recipe is, right? Like a top 10 SB plus defense and complementary football. And then you just, complete the dream season by winning these close games. So, yeah, I think it's all there for a dream season. You got to go on a limb and predict some things. And that's what I'm calling it. Another thing that I'm going to call
I'll go 8 or 9 wins.
is a long year for Old Dominion.
Oh
this is going to be
gosh, we got
painful
here.
because this is a fun little program. I know we're going to wrap up the East with Old Dominion, wrap up our team rundowns here. You have Jason Henderson, and that's kind of about it. Linebacker is going to get a whole lot of tackles. But so, yeah, kind of fell apart last year. They had some really good individual skill position guys, and they just all kept getting hurt. Hayden Wolf transfers in the offseason. They bring in Kevin Decker. He is a former Florida offensive coordinator. He picked up the Josh Heupel veer and shoot version of that offense by watching it on tape. He's never worked on a staff with any of the veer and shoot guys. He literally just picked it up from tape. There was a Fordham video coordinator that had been a video coordinator at UCF, and he just like picked his brain and watched it on tape. And now he runs the Heupel veer and shoot. So is the offense a cheat code to be a good no matter what, even if you don't have great talent? We're going to find that out because your quarterbacks are either Fordham's backup, Grant Wilson, who transferred in, or a walk-on. So not a lot of talent here. Not much in the way of the running back room. The offensive line was your Achilles heel last year. It's going to be the same again this year. Just not a lot of talent. This is a roster that's just pretty barren right now. And it's a shame because they've I think Ricky Ryan is a good coach and a good guy, and he's got good engagement with that fan base. But I think it's going to be a long year, and the defense was kind of competent the last couple of years. But when you're looking at 40-second 3-and-outs, it's really hard to be much of anything on defense trying to play 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, I think that the big player to watch here is Hudson. Absolutely not. Like Hudson's just such
legendary
a good boy,
Hudson.
such a good dog.
Good boy.
Has dog crocs, cool shades. It's your guy to watch. That's the top player on this team. No, Jason Henderson loves tackling. He's always around the ball, whether he's picking up solo tackles or a ton of assisted tackles. You can count Jason Henderson to be in the play. Javion Harvey, someone to look out for a receiver. Losing Zach Kuntz as your tight end one who tested as the best tight end has ever tested in the NFL Combine. Ollie Jennings, you lose him to Virginia Tech. That hurts. You beat Virginia Tech. You lose your top receiver to VT. You play them to open your year. I can't believe Ollie went to Virginia Tech. I would love to see him go like Duke or something. I don't know. I kind of view it as Ollie was underused a bit, I would say, at Old Dominion. I feel like he should demand the ball more. Whenever he got the ball, great things happen. I feel like he could not like go over there or whatever. I feel like he could be in the same like boomer bust kind of play at Virginia Tech, but I don't know. I kind of wish he was still at ODU instead of going to VT. I can't lie. Maybe that's being a Sunbelt homer, but
Yeah, it's going to be a long year though. I think honestly 1-11 feels kind of realistic. Like, I mean, maybe they'll sneak out two
yeah,
or three with this offense, but FCS, Texas A&M, Commerce might be it. This might be it.
yeah.
I'm down on this team, but it's a shame.
Taj
Like I said, because
Rael.
I like Ronnie, but
I like Ronnie too, but safety Taj Rael is someone that I would maybe look for to break out. Then Mario Easterly as well, another safety, and Keandre Harris at corner. Rashid Reason as well. Those guys in the secondary, bank on at least one or two of them having really inspiring seasons that you could build on going into 2024. That's what we gotta do here. You gotta build
yeah,
the foundation, figure something out to get into 2024, get excited about it. But I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, Dan. I just don't really see it. I think the schedule's really difficult as well. You're at Virginia Tech versus
yeah.
Louisiana versus Wake Forest versus A&M Commerce at Marshall at Southern Miss versus App State at James Madison versus Coastal at Liberty at Georgia Southern versus Georgia State. Did I just read you the entire schedule? Yes, because there was never a time for me to take off. The only time to take off from the schedule being a little lax and easy is their fourth game against A&M Commerce, but
Yeah.
that's smack dab in the middle of Wake Forest at Marshall. So how can you take that off? Like you have 12 extremely difficult games. I think 1-11 is fairly likely, but I'm an optimist. So give me 2-10.
Okay. You can
But
steal
under
one.
three and a half. Under three and a half should be like a must bet.
Yeah. It is
Like
already
I
booked
don't
in the Keegan House.
how are there 4 wins here?
Yeah, there
What's
are.
the path? A&M Commerce beating Virginia Tech again because you're actually the royalty of Virginia, and then what at
Yeah, I
Southern
don't see
Miss
that. I think
because like I am trying to
the
figure
quarterback
out a
doesn't work.
path though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their quarterbacks went missing and Frank Gore Jr. It's I don't know
I
missed the
think the
game because he had to go take care of his auntie who was chilling too much. And then I don't know, like where do you find a fourth win here at Liberty because the Chadwell
no.
stuff didn't work?
Home for
There's
Georgia
not
State.
4 wins. There's not four wins.
Yeah.
No Georgia State. They don't beat Sean Elliott. There's not 4 wins here. I'm sorry, ODU fans. 3.5 is a gargantuan task. That is a high number.
The path is the offense is just good no matter who's in it, and the system is just a cheat code, and you can get 4 out of it. But yeah, I'm down. I'm down on the Monarchs, unfortunately.
Sorry, Hudson.
Ugh. Let's run it through. Let's hit some. Let's wrap up with our predictions.
Yeah, we went a long time.
Oh, we could go another 2 hours.
We really could.
We won't. We won't for you, but we could. We love
Predictions.
this league.
Let's start with defensive player of the year. Or yeah, let's go defense player of the year first. I went with the M Bank, South Alabama.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go with Owen Porter, Huntington native. Just gonna stuff the stat sheet there for the Marshall Thundering Herd.
Offensive player of the year, going Nate Noel.
I'm also going running
Nate
back.
Noel.
Also going running back. Auntie Chill, Frank Gore Jr.
So I'm going. I think Frank is gonna win, but I want to go Nate Noel for 2 reasons: to be different, and because I know everybody's going. I don't know. I'm hoping that there's enough voters out there that are like, oh wait, well, Nate Noel was actually extremely good. Maybe we don't go in the same path as everyone else. Let's go Frank Gore Jr. Either one of those could win it. Would be very happy. Let's go newcomer next.
Newcomer of the year, I have Davis Brin, Georgia Southern. He's he plays quarterback. He's going to put up a lot of stats. It's going to be an easy pick.
Tyreek Funderburk, App State corner, talked about as a breakout sleeper. Get a few interceptions, make your presence felt, help retool that App State defense. Newcomer is yours, coach of the year.
Giving away my conference winner, I'm going to go coach of the year, Charles Huff, Marshall Thundering Herd.
Kane Womack, South Alabama for me. Win a lot of games, so let's beat Tulane. Player of the year, I went Grayson McCall, shocker.
4 in a row, Grayson McCall, player of the year.
Wow, what a shocking pick from us. Championship prediction.
I have Marshall over South Alabama. Give me the Herd.
Ooh. Last year we had a bold call on Marshall. to beat Notre Dame. This year, it's Marshall winning the Sun Belt. I'm going South Alabama, and I don't know. I don't know who they beat. They beat one of App State, Marshall, Coastal. I don't know. I don't know who they beat. South Alabama or Coastal. I'll stick with what I wrote. Grayson's going to fight me because I said that he loses in the title game. I'm sorry, dude. Please let me be wrong. South Alabama or Coastal. It's going to, whether it's South Alabama Coastal or Marshall South Alabama or App State in the mix, whatever the Sun Belt Championship is, it's going to be a banger, as the Zoomers say. It's going to be good.
This league is incredible. We cannot recommend it enough. I hope our passion shown through for you, and that when you're flipping channels on a Saturday afternoon or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and you see a Sun Belt game, you land on it. They put them on NFL Network now. Don't miss them over there. This league has some athletic guys, some incredible guys on offense, some fast, athletic, some hard-hitting defenses. Don't miss the Sun Belt this year.
I don't know how we end this with hot takes. We've kind of spoiled a few.
Oh, our hot takes.
Yeah. What's your first hot take?
I got 3 of them. I got 3 hot takes. App State is going to make a run for the division crown. They're bouncing back. I don't know how high that is. I think Southern Miss finished second in the West ahead of Troy, behind only South Alabama. And hot take, Texas State bowl game, 6-6. Good job, Bobcats.
Okay, I'm going to say Tulane loses to both South Alabama and Southern Miss. Give me a little parlay on that.
We're not Tulane haters. We're not, just so you know. I think
we're just realists.
We both own the blue home field Tulane shirt.
Angry Wave
shirt. Yeah. Love it. But I think we're just Sunbelt partisans.
And we're just realists. Like, not to go off on a quick tangent, but on our upset special show, I had Tulane beating Kansas State last year.
Yeah. And
then I picked like 8 teams to beat Tulane. Not 8, but yeah, that didn't go well. Nate Noel will be my next one. Give me 16 rushing touchdowns.
Ooh.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot. So, yeah, we'll go with that. And then Traylon Washington is my breakout player. 1.3K rushing yards, double-digit rushing touchdowns is my bold prediction.
Big year.
And, yeah, big year. Sunbelt low at running back. Dan kind of did a bit of an outro already, but I remind you guys, $9.99 best season preview magazine out there. All the responses have been extremely positive. I don't remember a single negative review. It's all been really good. I like being the realist and just truthful guy that I am. I think it's really good. I think it'll be even better next year. I think it's the best season preview out there. It's just really good. It's a lot of good quality written on each and every team, whether you're talking about Coastal, Arkansas State, or Alabama. 1,200-ish words ran on each team. It's excellent stuff. It's so much information for your little brain or big brain to intake. And yeah, make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify or Apple, 5-star rating. Recommend us to your friends. Sunbelt preview in the books.
2 hours.
Easy. Thank you for watching.
Bye.